Is your TikTok page flooded with videos about Artemis 2?
And if you ever wondered how it works, in this podcast of Science Society Club, we'll be discussing exactly that.
You might have seen images of the Artemis 2 trajectory, and the way it worked was that they went about around Earth a couple of times. The main interesting part about this mission is the fact that the spacecraft used the gravity of Earth and the moon not to waste too much energy. So they were kind of going at a specific speed to be able to orbit around the moon and the Earth a couple of times, and then kind of increase their speed only when they were, you can see it on a picture, but like it's to when they're moving to moon, this is the moment when they had to accelerate a lot, but then when they were spinning around Earth, they actually didn't have to power themselves at all. So that's the main interesting part about the mission. That's my favorite part. And they use this technique on like Pioneers, on the Pioneer 11 and stuff. So the other satellites that went into outer space and stuff, they would rotate around Jupiter, and to not waste too much energy, they would follow the trajectory of the planet. And it's a lot of calculations and math involved in it, of course, just to measure how high the speed has to be able to go into the atmosphere of the planet, to not fall into the atmosphere of the planet, but to rotate. So basically act like a natural satellite, like the moon, what the moon is doing, basically.
Now, in my opinion, I think the crew of the Artemis 2 is actually really interesting. So, we actually had the first African American person, Victor Glove, his name, as well as the first woman, Christiana Koch, to orbit around the moon, right? Other than that, NASA is famously an American agency, but this time we also get the first non-American. Yes, the first non-American. They're actually Canadian. They're from the Canadian Space Agency. His name is Jeremy Hansen, right? And the mission is led by Reid Wiseman, who is actually the oldest person to travel beyond low Earth orbit and around the moon. So there's a lot of firsts here.
Let's go, that's sick.
Yeah. What do you think about how Artemis 2 matters? Like, why does it matter in your opinion?
I think Artemis 2 is really important because, well, it's been 50 years since people went to space to like look at the moon. So I think the last mission was stepping foot on the moon. Is that right? Am I correct? I'm not sure. But yeah, that was 50 years ago, and this is actually insane because it really prepares the future NASA employees. Basically, it prepares NASA for future space missions and later Artemis missions, such as Artemis 3, which is, I'm pretty sure, a plan to actually land on the moon and then come back a similar way the Artemis 2 intending was intending on doing. And it also obviously strengthens the relationships of different countries. And how do you think Artemis could help humanity, though? That's the next question that comes to your mind, doesn't it?
Yes, it is actually a very common question that you like to hear about, like the moon, and the answer is kind of simple, but also kind of interesting in its own way because Earth is a special planet. I mean, we're on it, right? So, but if we really want to experiment something that's not possible on Earth, because Earth has all these weird, rules, gravity and whatnot, right? Basically, it's either not possible or very risky to do. So something like that, we can do it on the moon. And NASA is basically currently trying to bring astronauts there, trying to see if they could go there and bring astronauts there. But this time, they're not returning in that time, right? So this is a step towards that. And once they are able to establish a permanent colony, so to speak, right, they can then start to set labs up, do more experiments, etc. I mean, obviously, we're not terraforming the moon. It could be a horrible idea because the moon, like how it works, the rotation, highly impacts waves, current, and stuff on Earth. And currently, I don't think we understand how much it would impact if we were to terraform it. And plus, it's a lot cheaper and better to just save our planet. So
That is true. Also, a side note for all the people that are a bit confused, wait, that want to learn more actually. So, am I right? I'm pretty sure that is correct. That the Artemis was launched from Florida. Is that correct? Right, by the space launching system called the CLS. And they had one of the most powerful rockets. And also it ended on the 10th of April. 10th of April, am I right? Well, time zones, whatever. It lasted 10 days with four people on board, but it landed in the Pacific Ocean. And so there are so many videos of people, the crew, people, the rescuers coming to save the astronauts, being like, "Welcome home." Have you seen those?
I have seen some of them. It looks really cool, and it's like
So
definitely a
true.
uniting moment between a lot of people.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's definitely a lot. Like I said, it's a lot of firsts, so it's very exciting.
Mm-hmm. But then, why do you think? Okay, so we had this whole conversation about why it's important, right? But then, why do you think it matters if it didn't land on the moon, though? What's the point of it then?
It's I mean, it's important that we run tests, right? Whether the spacecraft and astronauts can safely travel into deep space and return, right? I mean, certainly because of how orbits kind of change, this is one of the furthest we've ever gone with humans, I mean.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, right.
And that's really interesting in my opinion. It's just amazing that we are able to do that, and it really prepares us forward. Now, what's your take on how Artemis 2 is different from the Apollo missions that we had?
Yeah, I think the Apollo missions were focused on the Cold War race. It was just racing with other countries to see who's gonna get to the moon faster. And uh, Artemis is more focused on actually the long run, so how testing different ways out, seeing how the rockets, how they oh, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of biology in it as well, actually. So they so the Artemis astronauts were doing lots of different biological tests, seeing how space impacts their like pulse or whatever, I don't know. But like they were just testing a lot of stuff for biology and like how it impacts the human body to be in space and so far from Earth for such a long time. So that's why that and in Apollo times obviously they didn't really think much of it and it was more of a race. I think that's the main difference.
We have a lot of like biology students in MUIC, so I certainly think this would be very interesting for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. I hope space becomes a more wide field for everyone, not just physics, but also biology. Let's go and chemistry.
Yeah.
So, why do you think there's this whole trend of competing to go to the moon again then? Since and we're going to talk about the geopolitics a bit later. But why do you think it's coming back?
Now, what would you say, right? What's your take on this? So, what are the biggest dangers that the astronauts face during Artemis 2? Because it's obviously, looks very dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, I have a good question to you actually. Okay, let me answer this question. I have a good question to add
Okay.
to you. Dude, I mean it must be so terrifying. Can you imagine going into space? Okay, rhetorical question. Can anyone imagine going into space for such a long time? And it's the longest, the furthest distance from Earth anyone has ever been to, I'm pretty sure. That's actually insane. It's so isolating. And what if something goes wrong? What if you have to just drift away and just basically Project Hail Mary all over again, if you know it. Have you watched Project Hail Mary?
Oh, I haven't. I've been meaning to.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to spoil.
No,
Well,
I'm fine with spoilers, but as someone who's interested in speculative biology and is a Catholic, I should probably watch it.
oh my God. Yes, I think you're gonna like it. I'm sure you're gonna like it. Yeah, well, equipment failure obviously is one of the most scary parts, and isolation, and how it's just how the rocket has to speed up when it's falling back into the Earth's atmosphere. What if you get burnt there? Like, stuff like that. But my question I wanted to ask you is, would you be able to, if okay, would you be able to join the Artemis 2 mission if they send you an email like, oh, hey Amy, you want to come with us? Would you be able to say yes? Would you want to do that?
This is interesting actually. I think I would. I think I would. I think there's like a lot of things you just kind of want to experience it as it happens. And, sometimes things are dangerous, but hey, even people who ventures into like dangerous places, they get remembered. So,
Yeah, that's true. Guys, write in the comments if you would want to join the Artemis 2 mission. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
why not, right?
Sick. Oh wait, but I have another question. That's not it though. Do you think will you be able to okay, but like okay, this isn't about Artemis 2 anymore. This is about just space travel in general. Would you be able to go really far away? Like if you for like until the rest of your life basically, like knowing that you're going to have to leave your family and everyone. Would you want to go?
Ooh, for the rest of my life, that's
Yeah.
no. Um,
Really? But then you'd hmm?
I love Earth. I mean, I was born here. I've lived here. I love the food. I love the animals. Like I don't want to leave here. I don't want to leave here. This planet is still good.
Sure. But okay, but if you could come back in 20 years, but then all your family would be dead and everyone would be dead.
No, I would not do that. I love my family
That's
too
good.
much.
Oh, that's so sweet. Let's go. That's good. That's good.
How do you think that the Artemis 2 can affect future missions to Mars? I mean, if you were back in 2019, everyone's talking about Mars, 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 Mars. So,
Right? I think Artemis 2 has a direct link with Mars. I think it's like the next step. Maybe okay, maybe like Artemis 2, maybe Artemis 3, and then like let's go colonize Mars. I guess it's like it's a step forward because it's like wait, let me think of how to explain this. It's like exploring the different ways our technology has improved, and it's just exploring how people survive, yeah, in long periods of time and space. Like 10 days is quite a lot, and just all these biological measurements are also like just to see whether people are going to be able to even survive extraterrestrial planets or whatever. And it's just lots of new information I think that would be gained by the engineers that are building the spacecrafts, like, oh, next time we shouldn't do this, and learning how to adapt the spacecraft or whatever for future trajectories to Mars. I don't yeah. Some I think that's how it's linked. Do you agree?
oh yeah, I mean, a lot of science is like building atop of previous knowledge. It's our human collaborative nature that get us as far as we have, right? Um, but also, with this spending, right? Because building atop each other, it's not free. Now, a lot of people would
Definitely.
ask, should the government even spend these kinds of money on space exploration when there's so much more money to be spent elsewhere?
Right? Exactly. It's such a big debate. People always talk about it. What do you think? Do you think governments should spend billions on these space
In my
things?
opinion, the if you look right at the United States, for example, because we're talking about Artemis 2, NASA budget is not that high. I mean, it's high compared to what we have, right? But it's not that high because they spend a lot more on the military. They spend a lot more on corporate bailouts, right? So you can argue that, you know, 1% on NASA is not that big of a deal. Now, this proportion may be different in other countries, like, for example, Southeast Asian countries. Should we be spending a lot of money when we still have a lot of infrastructure problem? Now, that's a different question, right? Because even 1% of, let's say, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, even 1% is worth a lot more than 1% for the US government. So I think it
Right?
really depends, yeah.
That's tough, actually. Ooh, that's interesting. That got me thinking. My brain is moving. Okay, and what about I've mentioned that we're going to talk about the geopolitical tensions or whatever. So, what do you think about that then?
I think it will very much increase the geopolitical tension, especially when we're entering the age of superpowers, right? I mean, we were in an age of like bipolar world with like the Soviets and the Americans, but now we're in an age with China, potentially India, Russia, and America throwing their hat in the ring, right? Now, we could have something like the smallpox crisis, where the smallpox vaccine was actually rolled out and collaborated with both the Soviets and Americans to make the world better and eradicate smallpox. That could happen. Cooperation could happen. We could just get along. We could just hug each other and get along. But most of the time, that's not the case, unfortunately. And I do think, as I alluded to previously about other countries, a world that is more centered to superpowers, I think it will leave a lot of countries that are not superpowers behind.
Okay, but like some countries will be left behind, but like honestly, I don't agree with this, but some could say it's just space. Like it's not that deep. It's not that important. So space exploration shouldn't be the main reason a country is left behind.
No, but they do need to, I guess, pick a side, so to speak, right? Because, if, for example, a lot of people, when they want to go to space, they would have to, for example, the first Vietnamese cosmonaut who went to space relied on the help of the Soviet Union, right? And so basically they need to pick a side, and sometimes that's not easy. For example, a country like Cuba, America is blockading Cuba. A country like the Philippines or Vietnam, which has territorial dispute with China, right? Or countries like Ukraine or Poland and Russia, right? So there's a lot of that, do I really want to team up with you even though you're the closest superpower, simply because there's a lot of things we're arguing about right now,
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, now this segues because our university, right, is international. We have people from all over walks of life and countries, and they have asked us a few questions that I thought we could get into. Now, the first one is, can I switch majors if I don't like biomed?
To answer your question in great detail, yes. All right, moving on to the next question is by GSS_lols, also known as Guts. Why did it take NASA over 50 years to build Artemis II?
So,
I have an answer to this, but if you want to start off.
Yeah, so my take on it is that, some people may claim that we've lost the technology, but that's just not true. We didn't lose the technology, right? It's actually because of the US government. And because the Apollo mission, right, for example, the US did it to win the space race. By the time they planned out the Apollo mission, the US has 15 minutes of space flight under its belt, so it's not a lot, but they really wanted to win that race, So they poured a lot of money into it. But then the Soviet Union collapsed, and people were like, oh, does NASA... And NASA has been defunded a couple of times. In fact, in the current administration, they have been defunded even more, right?
Yeah.
So it's not really easy for them to do something like this. So we haven't lost technology. If anything, we have better technology now. I would say that the competition is kind of heated up, so to speak.
But what I wanted to say is that it didn't take NASA over 50 years to build the Artemis II. It actually took them only 2 to 3 years. And the 50 years date comes from the last time we visited space. So the last time we visited space was 50 years ago. So I'm assuming that's what the person means. But they didn't take that long to build the actual rocket. And it's everything Amy just said. But also it's like expensive, obviously. That's why, like, we don't want to be going into space so many times. That's what I thought. That's my first thought. Like, why would we want to be going into space every other year if there's kind of no point in it? But now NASA's like thought of a plan. They're thinking about going to Mars. They're thinking of these long-term things they want to do. So it's better to just like not do it as frequent, but do it with a higher quality. Hear me out. And that's why wait, hold on, what was I on? Yeah, and that's why they don't send rockets every other day, because like why that wouldn't even make any sense. And also the safety requirements are more high, I'm pretty sure, compared to years before that, where it's like, oh, astronauts need to do this, need to do this, need to do this, and like if astronauts aren't like this is bad. So it like took longer
Quality
to
over
prepare
quantity
for the
for
actual
sure.
mission. I wanted to say that. Oh my god, I wanted to say that. Could you like see my lips move? I was like, bro.
Anyway, another question, right, is that can you actually debunk some myth regarding space?
Ooh. I think the biggest myth is the fact that this is useless. And I mean, we've already answered that, the fact that it's not useless, guys.
Yes, it's very useful.
Yeah, and the biological and I think another myth is how like think about it. How it's only like how engineers are the only important parts of it. But I think biology is also important. And chemistry too, I guess. But
Dude, they
like
try to fit
I'm
into
so
everything.
exactly, dude, exactly. I'm just trying to like I'm just projecting, dude. I just want to be part of this biology. Let's go. But like do you know any other myths about Artemis too?
Um, I think this is about space in general, right? And I
Oh,
think
oh,
space, right? There's truckloads of myth about space and astronomy. I mean, just think about the flat Earth theory for one, but that's a cop out answer and it's easy, right? But
wait, what do you mean? What do you mean it's a myth though? I think flat Earth is real.
no, the dinosaur Earth is real. I'm sorry. Anyway, um, so let's just start in our solar system, right? A lot of myth is that Jupiter protects us from the asteroid belt because they are strong, right, gravitationally, and they push the asteroid towards Jupiter instead of going to that way. Well, actually, that's actually not entirely true. Yes, sometimes it helps us, but it would only do that if the asteroid was already near Jupiter in the first place. So, it's like, hey, I'm saving you, but I'm only saving you when I see the thief. If you call me, I'm not gonna answer. So that's, it's like I help you sometime. So it's not necessarily all the time, right?
You're joking. That's what I believe, bro. My wallpaper is Jupiter because it's my favorite planet. Because I always believed my whole life. No.
It saves us sometimes, okay? Just like a horrible ex. More info about Jupiter though, there's some good news is that they're actually not a failed star, okay? Some people think that they are a failed star, but they're actually a very successful planet.
Yeah, it can't be. It's not large enough to be a star, right?
Correct.
The mass isn't high enough.
They're not brown dwarfs, so yeah, no. They're not failed star, they're a successful planet. Give it some credit.
Mm. I have one. I have one. Do you know about Super Saturn? Yeah, Super Saturn is like, okay, insert a photo right here. Super Saturn. It was like someone observed, it's like a planet with like huge rings. You can search it up after. Like it's really pretty. And people were like, "Oh my god, it's Super Saturn. It's exactly like Saturn." And people were like, "Oh my god, it's a planet like rotating around the sun." But I think it was around TikTok as well, but turns out it's not a planet. It's like it just floats through space, which is insane. So it's kind of like an asteroid in a way, with huge rings, which is crazy work. So the next question is, do you think defying gravity is actually possible, like the song from Wicked?
I never watched Wicked, so I'm assuming it's just kind of floating around. But the question kind of need more clarification, but the answer, it just really depends, right? If you want to defy gravity on Earth, right, you can. You can just simply go into like a zero gravity plane, then you'd float just like in space. Although you can't really bend space-time itself and make a wormhole that would not have gravity, so to speak, right? Because every single, in space you have still gravitational pull from like far away. So if you're talking about like gravity on Earth, yes. But if you're talking about like gravitational pull, period, no, that's just not possible yet. And even if it was, it would be kind of unstable, and there's a good chance that you may die. We
It's
don't
crazy.
know what's on
Wait,
the other side of wormhole. We just do not know.
not yet.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you know how the zero gravity things work?
Zero gravity. We're not being
Like
pulled
the
towards the center, so that's why.
yeah, the thing that you're talking about, the machine work, because I've seen it before where people fly, but isn't it just air streaming? It's just air, right?
I think it's more of a reducing the impacts of gravity. Oh, it's actually called a reduced gravity aircraft because it's not really anti-gravity. It's like a fixed wing aircraft with a brief near weightness environment for training astronauts. So it's specifically meant to be trained for astronauts by reducing gravity, right? And the principle is just following the parabolic flight path, which is that the path that objects naturally flow in free fall. So it's essentially kind of like free fall, making you feel like you're free falling, but you're not free falling because
Oh,
you're
that
on a
makes a lot of
plane.
sense.
So you're kind of floating. So it's not like in space, but it's kind of like in space enough that you can train astronauts with it.
But then wouldn't they have to do free fall for like, because free fall is just, so what does it last like a few seconds or?
No, they're free falling it on a plane, so it's kind of like that because the plane is not a static object essentially.
Ooh, sick! I didn't know that.
Yeah, but
No.
now that we mentioned myth, right? Let's talk about misconception, which are slightly different for the record.
So what's the biggest misconception about space?
Yeah. So the misconception, right? It's actually about exoplanet, at least how people view them, right? Because exoplanets are just planets outside of our solar system. They are light years away from our solar system. Now, that means it's not really easy to confirm whether it's habitable or not, right? And because of that, people have been spreading not really misinformation, but misunderstanding of research, right? Because a lot of these are heavy topics online regarding like exoplanet. Like, for example, J1407b, it was theorized to be a gaseous planet with a supermassive ring orbiting a star known as J1407. But as it turns out, okay, this thing was not a planet at all, nor rings orbiting, nor was it an object with massive ring. It was just a protostar with a protoplanetary disk. Okay, so not planet at all.
Let's go.
And that's not really considered a ring. We also have things like the K2-18b, which is a gaseous Neptune-like planet that was mistaken as a habitable rocky super-Earth. This is because the James Webb Telescope discovered a gas on this planet called dimethyl sulfide, which is a gas that can only be produced from marine organisms. However, that discovery was never real, it was a misunderstanding, and
It's beautiful. I love exoplanets. Do you know how exoplanets are discovered? Because they're so far away, and if you use a telescope, you can only see usually the stars are the only the brightest things that you can see, but planets are so dim that it's almost impossible to find them with a telescope. There's only a few images of exoplanets that have been captured because they're so dim. And so the way astrophysicists find exoplanets is using the transit method, which is actually what I was reading about a month ago. I was obsessing over it. It's like the star. So there's a star, right? For example, our sun. And if we're looking at it like that, and we see the star in here, then how planets rotate around the sun, the star. At one point of the at a given period basically of time, the planet would go across, so it would be a small, and we'd see the dimmage of the star basically dimming, and then we analyze these curves on the graphs, which is actually absolutely insane. And if it's continuous, if it's every 2 days we see this dimmage of a star, or okay, maybe not 2 days, maybe every month we see this the star dimming. So maybe possibly there is a planet in front of it, but I'm pretty sure that's and you also need to have a specific perspective, because what if the planet is rotating that way? You're not gonna be able to see it. And so yeah, oh my god, editor, you should add photos of exoplanets everywhere. Oh my god, bro. But it's so interesting. And then also another thing, sorry, this triggered a little something in me, but they were analyzing astrophysicists realized how to analyze the atmosphere on planets based on this transit method. Yeah, it's called transit method. So based on the transit method, when the planet is in front of the star, the light is shining through the planet, and especially if it's a gaseous planet, I'm pretty sure the light that you get from the light that you get from this planet can be analyzed to find the chemical compositions to that, and that's how astrophysicists attempt to find life on other planets, by analyzing whether there's carbon emissions, whether there's signs of photosynthesis or whatever. So I think it's really, really sick how like how crazy technology has become where we're analyzing whether a planet so far away can potentially have life on it.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, a lot of it is kind of like over my head because I'm not a math person, not a physics person, right? Maybe if this shows get popular enough, we can get Neil deGrasse Tyson on it. Just kidding.
Stop! He's my goat, bro. I love him so much. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Oh, wait, isn't
We
he
can
like
ask him,
controversial?
astrophysicist. I don't know. I don't know much about him other than the fact that he's an astrophysicist.
Yeah, bro. So what's the most mind-blowing thing about space is the next question that we got.
So I was getting my mind blown by the things you were saying, obviously, right? Very exciting stuff, right? But, you know, space, right, as a whole is just a very mind-blowing concept, right? Because everything, in my opinion, is just, wow, very mind-blowing. But I think the black hole, how it slow down time, that's just really interesting because if you live on a planet that's near or orbiting a black hole, time will like be slower for you, and because of time dilation, right? And black hole warp space and time so much, and the word present doesn't even make sense anymore because time everywhere is not the same, right? And I'm just like, because time, right? Time is kind of what we always assume is a thing. Space and time is like, hey, this thing is here right now. But what is right now and what is here?
I just don't understand the amount of videos I've watched that explains time dilation and like time relativity. I just don't get it, bro. I'm like, okay. Just, I don't get it either. Oh my god, that's why we're biology majors. Okay,
Yeah.
Hear me out. We're gonna learn how to revive people and then we're gonna bring him back.
True.
Okay, well, my most mind-blowing fact about space is tied to exoplanets. And I don't know. I mean, it was, oh my god, wait, I have two. What do I do if I have two?
Just say two.
I'll just say both of them. Let's go. Okay, my first one is about exoplanets. So, have you heard the saying of like, oh, there are so many stars. There are more stars in the night sky than there are grains of sand on a beach on Earth or whatever. That one thing. Yeah, right? So many people talk about it. Brother, there are like 400 or like even more, like so many more times more exoplanets. Just exoplanets are like planets that are not in our solar system. So like Super Saturn it used to be considered an exoplanet. It's basically planets that rotate around a star that are outside of our solar system. But yeah, can you imagine? So there's just so many exoplanets that we just don't know of because we just can't see them. So like look up at this night sky one day and just there's so many planets on there. Bro, isn't it crazy? Like, brother, if there's like so many stars, then how many planets are there that are revolving around these stars? Because look at our solar system, there's what, like 8, I forgot how many planets there are. Like 8 planets revolving around the sun, and that's just our sun. Our sun isn't even like remotely the biggest star ever. Can you imagine? Like, I don't know, dude. It just blows my mind. I'm like, dude, it's insane.
Mind-blowing.
Okay. This is my party fact. When I want to like impress someone, I say this. Did you know that the distance between Earth and the moon? You might know this actually. I'm pretty sure it's like a well-known fact, but I don't know. People act really surprised when I tell them this. So, the distance between Earth and the moon can fit all our planets in their solar system if you just put them next to each other. So if you take Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, if you just stack them on like next to each other, they're all gonna fit between Earth and the moon, and there's also gonna be some space remaining. But like that's crazy. You can fit all the planets in between Earth and the moon. And can you imagine the Artemis? Ooh, linking it back to Artemis II. Can you imagine how long of a way it was for these Artemis II astronauts?
Going around the moon, right? Because like this isn't like Apollo where they have to get on the moon. They have to like, which is even further.
Yeah. Exactly. I had a little question. This is the last question. I thought of a question, and let me try to see if you can guess the answer. So why do you think Artemis II is called Artemis II?
I like reading Greek stuff, so I'm assuming it's anything relating to Greek.
Okay, go on.
maybe Greek theory about space, maybe?
So Apollo and Artemis are twin siblings, I'm pretty sure. I don't know, brothers, sisters, whatever, but they're twins. That's why it's like Apollo was the moon, like going to the moon. And then 50 years later, it's the twin, which is Artemis.
That's poetic. That's very poetic.
Dude, so smart, bro. NASA are onto something. What are they feeding them, dude?
I mean, you can actually look up astronauts' meal. They don't look very nice, though. I'd much rather eat Earth food. I like my Earth food very much. Yeah, so that's what they're feeding them. So I guess if you want to be as smart as them, you gotta eat that.
You know what? I'll just stick to Earth. You know, I'll just be
Same,
here for a while, I guess.
And maybe that's the answer for most people, right? We're on Earth right now, and maybe it's time for us to help the Earth improve as a society, right? We're in university right now. It's international. We are able to basically go on to different regions of the world. Different areas of the world have different threats, right? So this is your reminder to study.
Stop! Don't make this about studying!
That was slick. I take credit for that.
That was horrible. I'm sorry. Please don't remind me. Oh my god, I have a quiz. Okay, I gotta go study for my quiz then.
Well,
Quiz in 2 days.
I guess we'll end the show here, and good luck to everyone on the upcoming midterms, quizzes, or whatever you guys have. And
Yeah, guys.
if we ever do another one of these, we'll see you soon.
Make sure to ask any questions you guys have. Leave your opinions on our beautiful hosts, and we'll catch you later. Yeah.
Oh, remember, we have a field trip coming up soon to Sirirat Medical Museum. So if you guys are interested in medical stuff, biomedical stuff, definitely follow the page and wait for more information regarding it.
Wait, what day is the trip though?
Um,
Because what if people are watching this a year later?
that is classified. But I think right now we're expecting it to be June 8th. And this will be it for this episode. And bye!
Make sure to like and subscribe.
Yes, like and
Bye,
subscribe.
guys!
Bye!